Hello and welcome to Gym 103, Thinkorswim overview for the options wheel. In this video, I'll orient you to the Thinkorswim platform, what each tab is used for and how it fits into the options wheel, so you know where to focus before placing trades. Quick disclaimer before we begin. This video is for educational purposes only and should not be considered financial or investment advice. Always do your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making investment decisions. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and all investing involves risk. Let's start with logging in. Enter your login credentials to get started. If you log in and don't see your live account, check in the lower right to make sure you're not in paper money. Alright, we're logged into Thinkorswim, and before we go tab by tab, I want to start with what's persistent around the platform. The parts that stay visible no matter which tab you're in. We'll start on the left column and move clockwise. All of this is customizable, so what you see here is just how I have it set up. At the top of the left column is account info. You can customize what shows here. The two things I primarily pay attention to are option buying power, which tells me how much capital I can deploy into the wheel using cash secured puts, and net liquidity, which shows the overall value of your account if everything were liquidated today. I'm not trading from here. This is just a quick capacity check. Below that is a news gadget. This can be filtered by ticker symbol, so I can focus on news related to stocks I'm actually trading. This is for awareness, not for reacting or chasing headlines. Under the news are my watch lists. My preferred watch list is made up primarily of Magnificent 7 and AI-focused stocks. These are the names I most often run the wheel on. I also keep a secondary list for smaller accounts, or alternative candidates when capital is more limited. At the very bottom of the left column is a quick chart. You can set this to any ticker symbol you want. I use it for a fast glance without leaving whatever tab I'm working in. One quick thing before we move on. Each of these gadgets has a small menu in the upper right. From here you can detach a gadget, which puts it into its own movable window, or switch the gadget, which lets you replace it with anything else. If I choose Switch Gadget, you'll see there are a lot of options available. Everything from account tools to charts, news, calculators, and even live TV if that's something you want. You don't need all of this. The point is that this area is highly customizable. Continuing clockwise, let's move up to the very top of the screen. On the far left, this shows whether you're connected, whether you're receiving real-time data, the current time, and which account group you're working in. Right next to it, that is the symbol lookup. You can type in a ticker here, for example, NVIDIA, and Thinkorswim will pull that symbol up across the platform. Over to the right, Schwab.com opens your Schwab account in a browser and logs you in automatically. Messages is where you'll see account-related notifications, things like assignments or important notices. The headset and chat icons are ways to contact Schwab support or participate in chat rooms. I don't personally use those. Setup is where the general Thinkorswim application settings live, things like appearance, preferences, and system behavior. Then you have the standard Windows controls, minimize, maximize, and close. And just below that is On Demand. On Demand lets you replay past market days and test strategies in real market conditions. That's a powerful feature, and it deserves its own dedicated video, so I'm not going to dig into it here. Below the top bar are the main tabs: Monitor, Trade, Analyze, Scan, Market Watch, Charts, and so on. Along the bottom, you'll see a scrolling strip of current positions and symbols with their prices and changes. This updates in real time and gives you a quick glance at what's moving without changing screens. Now in the center, we're on the home screen, which you can always get to from the upper right. This area is configurable, but I mainly use it to set my market mindset before moving into monitors or charts. In the upper left is a countdown showing when the market opens or closes, which is useful if you're managing orders around expiration. Moving clockwise again, this shows the status of any orders, what's working, what's been filled, and what's been canceled. Below that, I keep two short-term charts for NASDAQ 100 since I trade mostly technology stocks. The top chart shows roughly the last 10 days using a 30-minute time frame, and the bottom chart shows 20 days using a 1-hour time frame. This isn't for trade entries, it's just recent market context. On the left side of the home screen are two heat maps tied to my watch list. The top one corresponds to my preferred list, and the bottom one to my secondary list. The brighter the color is, the stronger the move. Green for up, red for down. Again, this is just a visual snapshot. On the right side of the home screen are news releases and upcoming events. To be honest, I don't really use this section, but it's here if you want it. And just like the left column, you can hide this entire panel if you want more screen space. So the home screen is really just a staging area. With that foundation in place, let's move into the Monitor tab and start looking at where the options wheel actually lives. You can always get back to the home screen from the upper right. Everything else in the center of Thinkorswim lives in these tabs across the top. Right now, I'm in the Monitor tab. At the top here, I'm viewing one of my faster growing accounts, which I've named Touchdown. This account was originally transferred from TD Ameritrade. Depending on how you have Thinkorswim set up, you may see a single account or multiple accounts here. The Monitor tab is where the options wheel actually lives. This section shows working orders, fill orders, and canceled orders. These are the same working orders you saw summarized on the work screen, just with more detail. For example, right now I have working orders to buy back positions at a specific price. In the future, I'll update these values when filming so you're seeing real current information. Below that is the position section. One useful feature here is that you can group positions in different ways. I have mine grouped by where a position sits in the wheel, specifically cash secured puts and covered calls. That makes it easy to see at a glance which phase of the wheel each position is in. Within the Monitor tab, there is also an account statement. This is essentially a full record of what's happened in the account, including account details, order history, and trade history. If you ever want to answer the question, what happened in my account, this is where to look. You'll also see an FX tab for foreign exchange trading, which I don't use. And there's a strategy roller, which can automatically roll option strategies. I don't use that either, so I'm not going to spend time on here. The key takeaway is that the Monitor tab is about tracking and managing positions, not finding new trades. We'll go deeper into this tab in a later gym video. Right now, the goal is simply understanding what is here. With that overview in place, let's move on to the Trade tab. For the options wheel, the only sub-tab we use here is All Products. You'll see sub-tabs like Forex, Futures Active, and Pairs Trader. Those are for different strategies, and we don't use them for the wheel, so I won't be covering them. One feature I do want to point out here is the linking option. You can link this tab to a watch list so that when you click a symbol, it automatically updates the Trade tab. This makes it easy to move through candidates without constantly retyping symbols. At the top, you'll see information about the underlying stock, price change, and basic context before you even look at the options. Below that is a trade grid. This shows things like liquidity and routing information. For the wheel, I don't rely on this, and I usually keep it minimized. The most important part of this tab for the wheel is the options chain. This is one of two places where trades are initiated, which I'll demonstrate in a later video. When you click on a bid or ask in the options chain, Thinkorswim automatically pre-builds a trade in the order entry tools below. You can also manually build orders here, but in practice, most wheel trades start directly from the options chain because it's faster and cleaner. Below that is today's options statistics, options time and sales, and product depth. I don't usually use these, so we won't cover them here. So the Trade tab is where trades are built and sent, but not where trade ideas come from. We will walk through the actual mechanics of placing a trade here in a dedicated video. With that overview in place, let's move to the Analyze tab. This is the Analyze tab. There's a lot here, and most of it is very powerful, but for the options wheel, we're a little past most of these tools. I'll focus on what's actually relevant for the wheel and intentionally skip the rest. You can add simulated trades, risk profile, and probability analysis to model trades you're considering. These tools can show you potential outcomes and risk exposure. That said, because the wheel uses structured trade setups, the risk profile tends to look very similar from trade to trade, so I don't spend a lot of time here. The economic data section gives you access to a large amount of macro information. This can be useful for deeper research on a specific stock or sector, but it's not something I rely on day to day for the wheel. ThinkBack is a historical backtesting tool that lets you test strategies using past market data. I don't use this directly, mainly because I rely on external tools for that analysis. The most valuable section in the Analyze tab for the options wheel is Fundamentals. If you remember from Gym 101, one of the core values of the wheel is to never sell a put on a stock you wouldn't be comfortable owning. For the Magnificent Seven, I don't spend a lot of time questioning the fundamentals. These are established market-leading companies. But for smaller accounts or when looking at alternative candidates, this section becomes much more important. Let's take NVIDIA as an example. At the top, you'll see analyst ratings and consensus views. In the middle, you'll find a company profile, what the business does, and how it fits into the broader market. And at the bottom, you'll see the detailed financials, revenue, margins, growth, and balance sheet metrics. This is a data-driven story behind the stock. You'll often hear commentators reference these same numbers when they discuss a company. The earnings section is also important because earnings announcements often come with increased volatility. This tab gives you a clear snapshot of upcoming earnings dates and historical performance around those events. So the Analyze tab is primarily about understanding risk and fundamentals, not about finding trades or placing orders. The Scan tab is where trade ideas actually start to come together. This is the other place where trades can be initiated. But more importantly, this is where trade candidates are surfaced. For the options wheel, the two scan types you'll see most often are Stock Hacker and Options Hacker. You'll also see Spread Hacker, which is used for different strategies and won't be covered here. You'll also see Spreadbooks here. Those are used for different multi-leg strategies and aren't part of the options wheel, so I'm not going to cover them. A scan is simply a set of rules that tells Thinkorswim what to look for and what to exclude. Once a scan is built, you can choose which symbols to include, which to exclude, and then run. Let me run a scan so you can see what that looks like. This list is the output. It's not a recommendation, it's just candidates that meet the criteria. Just like with the option chain, you can click on the bid or ask from the scan result, and Thinkorswim will pre-build the trade in the order entry tools below. I'm not evaluating this trade, just showing how the platform behaves. You'll notice columns like delta, covered return, and other metrics. We'll use those later when we talk about trade selection and execution. For now, I just want you to know that they exist. Along the bottom, you can also manually build trades using the order entry tools. This gives you flexibility, but in practice, most wheel trades start from either the option chain or a scan result. The Scan tab is about surfacing opportunities, not making decisions. We'll go much deeper into how scans are built and used in a dedicated video. Next, we'll take a quick look at the Market Watch tab before wrapping up the overview. I'll be upfront. This tab isn't a tab I spend a lot of time in for the options wheel, but there are a couple of useful pieces worth knowing about. The Quotes section lets you view real-time price data for individual symbols. It's straightforward, but since I already get this information through watch lists and charts everywhere, I don't rely on it here. The Alerts tab allows you to set price or condition-based alerts. Some traders use this heavily. I don't, mainly because my approach is systematic and not reactive. The most useful part of Market Watch, in my opinion, is Visualize. This is similar to the heat maps I used on the home screen, just applied more broadly across the market. Financing rates show borrowing and margin-related rates. Since the options wheel is typically run using cash-secured puts rather than margin, this isn't something I focus on. The Calendar tab shows upcoming financial events, things like economic reports, earnings, and other scheduled market events. This can be used for awareness, especially around volatility-driven events, even if you're not trading directly off the news. So overall, Market Watch is more about market awareness than execution. It's helpful context, but it's not central to how I run the options wheel. Next, we'll take a quick look at the Charts tab, which is where most technical analysis actually happens. We'll cover chart setup and interpretation in a separate video. For now, this is just about understanding what is here. At a high level, Charts gives you a snapshot of recent price action. how a stock has behaved in the market over time. This helps provide context, not trade signals. There are a lot of ways to configure charts: timeframes, indicators, studies, and layouts. You don't need to understand all of that yet. The goal right now is simply to know that this is where technical analysis happens. On my charts, you'll see a few indicators that I personally use, like Bollinger Bands, a longer-term moving average, and some momentum indicators. I'm not going to explain these here. We'll cover what they are and how I use them in a dedicated setup video. Just like in the other tabs, you'll also see the link feature here. That allows you to click through symbols from your watch list and have the chart update automatically. For the options wheel, charts are used for visual context, not prediction. We'll spend more time on chart setup later. For now, it's enough to know where this lives and how it fits into the workflow. Next is the Tools tab. This is a collection of utilities that support a wide range of trading styles. Some of these are useful, but they're not required for running the options wheel. You'll find things like calculators, probability tools, and reporting features here. We won't be using these in this video, and I'll call out specific tools later only if they're relevant to a particular workflow. The Education tab is exactly what it sounds like: built-in educational content provided by Thinkorswim. These are courses, videos, and explanations covering everything from basic investing to advanced option strategies. This can be a great resource if you want additional background, but for the gym series, I'll be teaching everything you need directly in the videos. The Help tab gives you access to documentation, support resources, and platform help. This is where you go if something isn't working or you need clarification on the platform setup. So that wraps up Gym 103, the platform overview. The goal here is familiarity, understanding where things live before we start placing trades. At this point, you should be familiar with navigating Thinkorswim, know what each major tab is used for, and have a sense of where to focus. And just as importantly, what you can safely ignore. This video wasn't about placing trades or configuring every setting. It was about orientation, making sure the platform feels familiar before we start using it in a systematic way. In the next gym videos, we'll slow down and go deeper, focusing on specific tabs and workflows as they relate directly to the options wheel. As always, trade the plan, not the panic. See you in the gym.